So we have Sam Hirsch with us this afternoon, as well as Raja Venkata. And I should have asked you, I'm so good at names today. I'm so excited. Thank you. So I just want to introduce Cadmium, and they are going to be talking about powering your events in education. And you will be able to discover how to simplify the production of your member events and maximize the value of your online learning for your members. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Sam and Raja.
Thank you so much. I will go ahead and turn off my camera. So welcome, everybody. Let me go ahead and introduce myself, and then I'll pass it to my colleague Raja to introduce. My name's Sam Hirsch. I'm a strategic account manager, specifically working with our Elevate LMS product. Been working 7+ years in the association space. Been to a lot of the NiUG events, and just really happy to be here. Raja, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Sure. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, depending on where you're dialing in from. I am Raja Venkata, working as Strategic Account Manager for the Ethos CE LMS of Cadmium. I've been in the industry for like 13 years in different roles. Started off with operations, where I was helping out customers onboard their LMSs. And now I moved into my current role, where we discuss solutions for new groups evaluating LMSs. Again, happy to be here and looking forward to a great session.
Thanks, Raja. So what I'm going to do today is really talk a little bit about who we are for a couple minutes. And then what we wanted to do was really talk about, how can all your technology fit together with your AMS, iMIS in this case. So what Cadmium does is we simplify the production of events and really maximize the value of content ultimately. So how do we do that? Well, we have this little wheel, kind of explains everything we do. So from content that you're giving, at events, think about your sessions. So we have a lot of event technology. That's kind of typically the first part of creating your content. All your speakers, getting approved, abstracts, PowerPoints, actually presenting. And then on the back side of things, we can capture that content. And then we have, as Raj and I mentioned, learning management systems where then that content can be loaded up. So kind of the full life cycle of your content is what Cadmium can help with. We primarily, as you may have noticed from all these examples here, focus on associations. So we integrate with iMIS, which is one of the leading providers of as an AMS, and then we do on the periphery work with some universities and some medical hospitals as well. But associations are a big part of who we work with. So what we want to talk about is really what's the value of iMIS and Cadmium's integration. So we're going to talk about kind of two use cases for you all to think about. First, we're going to talk about what is your member experience, basically. So whether they're an attendee at a conference, whether they're a learner, earning continuing education credit, or taking a course within your system, or watching a webinar like we are doing now, what's the benefit? What's the workflow between our solution and iMIS, or in general event technology and LMSs and your AMS iMIS? And then on the back side of things, we're going to talk about the administrator experience. So, what does that mean? How do things get set up? But a big part of what we're going to talk about is all the data. So, right, you don't want data scattered over multiple systems. Not that anybody listening to this, they can relate to that. I'm sure everything's buttoned up perfectly. But so we're going to talk about integrations on the back end. So administrators, ultimately, as organizations, you can make the best decisions with the right data. So I'm going to set the stage. We're kind of choosing, a good example of an association here. So you're an association with an annual conference, which I'd be willing to bet most of you had, around 5,000 attendees. And then throughout the year, this association does some smaller events, whether, both in person and, live webinars. This association does continuing education credits, CE, CME, CNE. They've got a community for their members. But they've got some pain points, and that's what we're going to dive into. they're really struggling to make sense of their data. It's kind of scattered in different areas. And then they want to engage their members the best way possible while, being on a fixed budget, as most associations are, stretching their dollar and, coming up with ways to get creative. So with that, I will pass it over to my colleague, Raja.
Thanks, Sam. So like Sam had mentioned, we are going to get a little bit into the nitty-gritties of how we are talking about the different use cases. Back to the agenda that Sam was reviewing, we are going to first focus on the learner experience, and we'll primarily try to address 3 use cases under the learner experience. First, we'll talk a little bit about the registration use case. Then we'll talk about what happens during the event and just before the event. A couple of things, a couple of different data points that we can integrate. And then the third one is after the event, what are some of the efficiencies that a more buttoned up system could achieve? 3 use cases under the learner experience. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so the first one. So as you could see here, when you're trying to think about registration, the Cadmium suite of products provides your learner with a unified experience. The way we do it is we have a single sign-on integration between different products. So each of our products, which is a live event system and a learning management system, both of these products have integrated with iMIS in the past. So from your learner's perspective, that's the unified experience, because they do not have to create an additional account when they're moving from a live event to an LMS or vice versa. And then the second piece of it that's really powerful is because we are part of this Cadmium family, we will be having this tightened up integration where if you are taking part of in a live event and then you move over to the LMS, the login will carry over so that the learner or the attendee does not have to do the login again. So that's the basic portion, which is the streamlined workflow from a registration perspective. Next slide, please. Pre and live event. So this is the portion where when you're thinking about the Cadmium suite of products, you will be having product lines in Cadmium that are going to help you through the life cycle of your event. And I'd like to go back to Sam's example where he was showing this flywheel that pretty much caters towards the entirety of your live event management. So when you're thinking about single sign-on, you already got your login from iMIS. But in addition to that, you're also able to get your registration types through our registration system. And your registration systems could be things like member, non-member identification. It could also be the marketing related information. How did you hear about the event? Different kinds of questions that you'd like to ask to know more about your learners. So all of that information is available from our Cadmium suite of products. And then I'd like to bring our attention to the 4 items that were mentioned right on the slide. So Ethos has a set of, in this case, Cadmium has a set of features that will allow you to collect abstracts. We have an abstract management. You're able to invite speakers so that they can automatically do their bio and disclosures. You can even resolve the conflict and document the mitigation framework or the mitigation process, depending on whether you're reporting to the medical organizations, CMEs, nursing, CNEs, or any kind of CEs for that matter. Now, obviously, in the age of the macroeconomic scenario, the exhibitor management obviously has a super high relevance. The Cadmium suite of products has this robust exhibitor management where you're able to have a clean interface for your exhibitors. And then finally, once your learners are participating in a live event, you can have different kinds of engagement tools where they can give in their feedback, they can do a formal survey, or if they wanted to, they can visit the exhibitor portal and have different kinds of engagement opportunities during the live event. So just to recap, before we go on to the third use case, the Cadmium suite of products allow your organization and your learners to have that unified experience. You log into iMIS, you go through a robust registration process. Then, depending on what your sessions are, they can easily pull up a mobile app, attend the sessions, look at virtual presentations if needed, participate in discussions with their other peers, peruse for exhibitors, engage with exhibitors, and then finally give feedback as a part of evaluations. Those are the two use cases we've covered. The third one, thank you, Sam, is the post-event option. So the post-event is where once you have the event, how do you try to monetize what you've gotten from your live piece of content? So that's, again, the theme of the Cadmium presentation, which is how do you increase the longevity of the content? And the way you do that is the Cadmium suite of products allows you to easily move your live events and convert it into an on-demand experience. And the way you do it is you go back to your LMS, and then you can easily pick the live events that you'd like to convert to on-demand. A good example is, let's say you had 20 or 30 events over a span of 3 days. You probably wanted to select a few sessions in those 3 days. Maybe you want to leave the plenary session on just for the live attendees, but maybe there's an interesting session that happened in the afternoon that you would like to convert to an on-demand activity. So what you could do, you could easily check the sessions that you would like to convert, check a few boxes, and then convert them into on-demand activities in the Cadmium LMSs. And once you do that, you get the critical information from your live event into your on-demand activity, and voila, your on-demand content is going to persist as long as you want it to be. So that's the post-event aspect of it, where you could actually look at the attendee engagement, maybe even look at your evaluation data and see what kind of events were super popular, and then convert them into on-demand. And these could be used for CE purposes, could be healthcare, continuing education, could be legal, finance, real estate, any kind of continuing education credits can be tracked through the Cadmium LMS. Next slide, please. All right, so that's the first part of the experience, where we spoke a little bit about how are you helping the learners through the process of having that unified experience for a live event. From an admin perspective, probably equally important is how are we helping the administrators to streamline the manual work that happens? Because I'd like to bring us back to what Sam has said earlier, which is to really get the power from the powerful insights about your learners, it needs to be a tightly buttoned up system, which is as many integrations as possible so that you can understand the life cycle of your learner when they're moving through different pieces in their learner journey. So from the admin experience, let's try to split that into maybe a couple of different examples. The first one is in terms of e-commerce, we do have the ability to either directly integrate your payment gateway, such as PayPal, Authorize.net, Stripe, into the LMSs, or we can directly integrate with your payment gateway if you choose. So different options are possible. And from that perspective, we also have different kind of plugins and APIs available, like Zapier plugins and other APIs that will help you streamline the e-commerce experience from the system.
And now, just to jump into that point, Raja, because that's a great point. We know a lot of our clients love having all the purchasing happen out of iMIS, because for their primarily accounting folks and finance folks, they then just have one primary place they need to go instead of, a registration system plus an LMS plus iMIS to get all of that, data reconciled. So that's, Raja points out, that's definitely a huge bonus that our clients really like.
Absolutely. Thanks for jumping in, Sam. So continuing that longevity of the learner experience, you could actually move on to the registration and completion portion of it as well. So as and when your learners enroll into activities, you can have us report the data back to different portions of the system. So we can report the data back to iMIS. So for example, let's say Sam enrolled into an activity on opioids management. Let's say he enrolled into this activity today. We could use the API connections and then send the data back to iMIS so that you have one-stop shop of pretty much Sam's journey. What are the live events he's enrolled in? What are the on-demand activities Sam enrolled in? And then taking that one step further, when Sam completes that activity and gets the credit, we can actually report the CE credits back to iMIS as well. So now when we're reporting the credits, you get this vision of how an integrated suite of products could look like. In your iMIS system, you have complete lifecycle view of Sam's journey. When did he become a member? What kinds of events he enrolled? Let's say from the Cadmium's live event management system. what kinds of online activities did Sam participate in? Maybe, he participated in 3 on-demand activities. Is he a learner who's more interested in webinars, or does he like more podcasts, or does he like more traditional online activities, or is he more focused on traditional live engagement? Once you have Sam's information in your iMIS system, you're able to make those intelligent decisions about coming up with customized content for members like Sam. So think about that kind of unified integration that a system like Cadmium can provide, because it has its own set of integration within the products, but then the products themselves are integrated with iMIS. So I think that's kind of the beauty of both worlds, where you're getting a robust product suite and a robust integration with iMIS. And,
Raja,
yep.
Oh, just to interrupt, I don't think you could have said it any better. It's really just, how are associations, as Raja's pointing out, making business decisions, especially if this data is scattered everywhere. So now with integrations with iMIS, you can say, you can pull something as simple as who's spent the most money with us, right? Because now you're going to see not just, the membership dues, but also all the events they've paid for, all the courses they've taken. But you can also start to see trends, to Raja's point. So, hey, it turns out most people who went to this event, their primary reason was CE, because I can see they all have over, 20 CE, continuing education credits earned this year. So it's really, the integrations are integrations. They're not going to do anything unless you utilize that data to make those business decisions, but the integrations are what's going to allow you to do that.
Very well said. And obviously, I'm sure everyone is waiting for that magic word AI. I will have to use it before we close out this meeting. So we are working on building AI components in the Cadmium suite, more towards understanding that learner journey. So like Sam has pointed out, we are building AI-rich tools which will allow you to better understand your learner journey, better understand their purchase behaviors, better understand what kinds of activities are you looking at building to make your membership more loyal to your association. So we are actively exploring those options. Certainly, as we get further down, we'd love to share and maybe even demo those solutions in one of our NiUG conferences. With that, I will pause. Back to you, Sam, if you wanted to add anything else.
No, that's fantastic. If there's any questions, obviously you can write them in the chat, but feel free to email marketing@gocadmium.com. Raja and I are happy to answer any questions that you all have for us. Even it doesn't have to be about our products. It could just be general strategy. And we would just want to thank NiUG again for hosting this and having us here. Really appreciate that. Raja, any closing remarks?
Exactly. We really appreciate all of your interest and appreciate NiUG for allowing us to be a part of this great conference. Thank you, everyone.
That's it for us.
All right. Well, I wanted to say thank you to Cadmium. NiUG uses your products, and I can vouch for 2 of the products that we use, and that's the exhibitor portal as well as the speaker portal, and it saves so much time with regard to planning an event. And I know you didn't go into detail about all the different products that you have available, but definitely they have saved our lives as far as just the overabundant amount of emails that you receive and have to send back and forth, and just the ability to automate those emails to go out to the entire group. So if they didn't hit a task date or a deadline that they were supposed to hit, you can automate it so that you can send out emails to remind them that they have tasks coming up or tasks that they have missed as far as a deadline. And it has saved us a tremendous amount of work. And with only 2 staff, we cannot thank you all enough for allowing us to use those products. So thank you to Cadmium for that.
Thank you.